So it's not surprising to anyone that with inflation, the price of everything has gone up drastically the past few years. So you don't want to spend any money in Second Life. In a world where people pretty much judge you based on how you present your avatar, does that mean you're doomed to a life of a noob? Well, no. I'm going to show you the top ways to earn lindens without spending a single dime. That's right, sweet, sweet linden dollars for completely free. I'm going to show you just how easy it can be. But that's not all. I've actually scoured the grid and did the footwork to find the very best means of getting you lindens. I've also run tests to see which activities will actually net you the most lindens for your time spent. And I've done all of this so you don't have to. I'm going to show you my very top 3 means of getting lindens. Not only that, but I'll break down the pros and cons of each, so stick around till the very end of the video. Without further ado, let's get into the top 3 ways to make lindens in 2024. We're going to start off by talking about Fish Hunt. This game has been around in SL for years. It's actually not a bad way to earn yourself some lindens while you hang out and socialize with friends. It's also not a bad way to bump into some new sims you've never heard about before. Let's talk about how to get started. When starting with Fish Hunt, we're going to avoid Fish Hunt HQ as much as humanly possible. As you can see, this place is absolutely overstimulated. Each one of these posters are advertisements for games that are meant to make you spend money. That way, when you decide to finally cash out, you won't be earning as many lindens as you possibly could. Instead, we're going to head over to the Second Life Marketplace. Once you bring it up, you'll want to type in Fish Hunt Beginner Rod. You'll see a list of rods at the top. It doesn't matter which color rod you pick, as long as it says it's free and is made by goldtokens.net. I'm going to go ahead and click on the green rod because it matches my sick pants. When the rod of your choice comes up, click the Buy Now button. Then scroll all the way down and press Place Your Order. On the next screen that comes up, hit the blue Buy Now button. Now we're going to equip our rod. Open up your inventory, then you're going to scroll down to the bottom where it says Received Items. We're actually going to ignore the folder that says Landfinder HUD. I'll show you much better ways to get to where we actually need to go. Find the rod, right-click it, then choose Add. You'll notice that after the rod is in your hand, there's a countdown timer at the end of the rod. Let it do its thing and count down. If this is your first time equipping a Fish Hunt rod, it's basically generating your stats and creating a game profile for your avatar. You'll start off with 50 free worms. That basically means you get 50 free casts until you need to buy more worms in order for another 50 casts. But don't worry at all, we're going to earn plenty of lindens before we even have to buy more worms, so you're not going to have to put any money into this. Now that that's out of the way, we're actually going to need to go out to fish. In order to figure out where we need to go, scroll back down to that folder and click on the instructions note card. You're going to copy paste this URL into your browser of choice. We're going to ignore most of what pops up on this website. Just like the in-world HQ, most of this is designed to distract you from your goal of cashing out lindens. On the navigation bar, click Find Lands and then go to Fish Hunt Lands. Scroll down the page. We're going to ignore all these thumbnails. Keep scrolling down until you see this spreadsheet of sims. What we're interested in is the column on the far right that's labeled Event. We're going to want to find a sim that says 4 times. If we can't, a 2-time sim will do. That basically means if we fish there, we'll either get 4 times or 2 times the fishing experience. The more experience we have, the more valuable our fish will be for cashing out. Fish pot basically means that there's a pot of lindens, much like a lottery. Fishers will be randomly selected and given a random amount of lindens from the pot. It works a lot like a sploder. The website's a little inconsistent. Some places you click on will take you to an information page. You'll need to scroll down to the bottom where you see the Copy SL URL button. Hit the button, then paste the SL URL into the top bar of your Second Life viewer. You'll be teleported to where you need to go. Other ones you click on will bring up the traditional SL URL map. Click the teleport button like you normally would. When arriving at each location, we're looking for a buoy that looks like this. You'll either have to fly or run to it. Now that we're at the buoy, you need to cast your line by clicking on your rod. For some reason, the first time I did it, I had to click a few times before it registered. I tried this on another avatar too and had the same problem. Just keep clicking until it casts. Once it casts, you'll see green text at the end of your rod with a countdown. You'll have to wait that amount of time before your fish can be pulled up. Once you catch your fish, if you look at local chat, you'll see how much experience you gained, how many fish you currently have, and how much the fish you caught was worth. You're going to have to earn at least one whole linden before you can cash out. When you feel you've caught enough, go ahead and bring up the instruction note card again. Scroll down and you'll see a landmark named Fish Hunt Headquarters. Click that and you'll be teleported almost directly to the ATM. Walk around the stuff in the booth to the ATM. Once you're at the ATM, make sure you click the keyboard only. Clicking anywhere else on the ATM is going to bring up a bunch of annoying ad note cards. Once you click the keyboard, if you look up at the upper right of your viewer, a pop-up will show up. If you haven't already joined the Gold Hunters group, go ahead and hit the join button on this pop-up. You'll need to be in this group in order to cash out. Once you're a part of the group, click the keyboard again. You'll be presented with more options. Before we cash out, we're going to need to verify our account. So click the verify button. This will bring a pop-up again in the upper right with a dialog box. You're going to need to type in a valid email address. Now this is where I strongly urge you to have a junk email set up. Obviously, Gold Hunt wants to make money. They will sell your email address to spammers. I would not use your day-to-day email because you will not hear the end of it. Everyone should have a junk email. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your junk email in there. Once you hit OK, you're gonna have to actually open up that email and click on the verification link. Once you've done all that and you're verified, you can go ahead and hit the withdraw button and cash out those sweet, sweet lindens. So maybe standing around fishing isn't quite your thing. Maybe you're looking for something a little more active, something a little more up-to-date feeling. Maybe the oddly satisfying feeling of collecting things is your cup of tea. Look no further than Crystal Craze. We're going to start off by going down to Crystal Craze HQ. Click the SL URL in the video description to be teleported. Once we're at HQ, you're going to be greeted with this pop-up for an experience. Hit yes and accept the experience. Next, turn around and face the back wall. Everything we need is going to be back here. There's 3 things we're going to need to do back here. First, click the group joiner. A pop-up will show up in the upper right. Click the group link inside of the pop-up. Now, click on Get a HUD. Another pop-up will show up in the upper right. Click the Show button on this pop-up. That'll automatically open up your inventory and take you to the HUD object. Go ahead and right-click this and select Add. After that, look down at the ground here and click the baskets. Once again, a pop-up will show up in the upper right. Once you have your basket on, if you look at local chat, you'll see that it's loaded you into the game database. We're going to take a look at the HUD real quick. From here, you can see the different types of crystals you've collected. Take a look at the buttons on the bottom of the HUD. You'll see an XP button. Go ahead and click this. It's going to open up a sub window that will let you see how much experience you have. It'll also show you how full your basket is. This will come in handy later on. Now, it's time for us to actually find some crystals. We're going to ignore the location button on the HUD because it's much better if once again we go to the website to get the sim list. Go ahead and click on the website button here. A pop-up's going to appear once again in the upper right. Go ahead and press the Go to Page button. So go ahead and switch to the browser page that just opened up. This is going to take you to a page with all your stats on it. From here, go ahead and click on the top bar here to be navigated to the main web page. Once you're on the main web page, from here, scroll down until you see locations. Click on the link for the location list. You'll notice a few things on this page. At the very bottom, you'll see 3 buttons: crystals, clusters, and cubes. Make sure crystals is selected. It should be by default, but you never know. Don't worry about clusters for now. We'll talk about that in a little bit after we talk about the normal crystals. Once we're looking at this spreadsheet, we need to find the column that says burst rate. That's the number of crystals that will be spawned per minute. So you're going to want to click on this to sort by highest to lowest. Look to the left at the sim names. Click on the sim with the highest burst rate. In Second Life, it's popped up the Place Profile window. Go ahead and click on the teleport button at the bottom of this window. Now that we're at our sim, it's time to collect. In order to collect crystals, just walk over the top of them. Most of the time that should work, but if something's bugged out, as long as you're next to the crystal, you can always click on it to collect it. It's good to note that different colored crystals hold different values. You can see the chart here. If If you arrive and there's other people collecting, it's good to make a dash to those higher valued crystals. One important thing to keep in mind is that if you fly, you may get your basket locked out and you'll no longer be able to collect. You're going to need to find a key in order to unlock your basket. Some sims will have a key right there. Otherwise, you'll have to go back to Crystal Craze HQ. There's always a key here. Just click it and that should unlock your basket and you'll be able to collect again. You can see as I'm collecting these, my basket is filling up. Once you've reached max capacity, you won't be able to gather any more crystals. Actually, if you run over the top of them, it'll start making a negative sound just to let you know. At this point, we're going to need to go to Crystal Craze HQ so you can drop off your crystals. Also note that as we collect crystals, we are gaining experience, so as you level up, you'll be able to carry more and more crystals each time. To get back to HQ, look back at the HUD, find the HQ button, and click it. This will automatically teleport you back to Crystal Craze HQ. We're going to turn around and go back to the back wall where we found our HUD. Just to the right where you picked up the baskets, you'll see 2 turn-in stations. Go ahead and click either one. If you look at local chat, it'll tell you how many of what color you've dropped off and how many lindens that's netted you. Remember, much like Fish Hunt, you'll need to have at least 1 whole linden earned before you can actually cash out. When you feel like it's time to finally cash out, walk over here and you'll find the ATM against the wall. You're going to need to have the Crystal Craze group active in order to use it. Click the ATM. There'll be a pop-up in the upper right with options. In this pop-up, you can see the value of your collected crystals and your actual Crystal Craze balance. You're going to have to convert your crystals into lindens. Click the button that says 1 in order to convert what you have into lindens. This will bring up a second pop-up asking if we'd like to convert all of our crystals or just a certain color. This is for people who get deep in the game and actually do the crafting element. Right now, we're only interested in making some quick lindens. So for now, click 1 and convert all those babies into money. This will bring up the original pop-up. Now we want to hit the 2 button in order to withdraw those sweet lindens. This will bring up a pop-up with a verification URL. Remember, avoid getting blacklisted and don't use another avatar on the same IP address. Only 1 avatar per household can participate in Crystal Craze. You may get a prompt asking you if you'd like to open up your web browser. Go ahead and click OK. This is going to bring up the verification page. You're going to want to click an agreement to both the terms of service and the cookie policy. Then you're going to click verify. After that, your verification should be successful. Now we're going to come back into Second Life, click the ATM again, and this time you're going to hit the 2 button in order to withdraw. You should see a little pop-up in the upper right that says you actually got paid. Let's talk about crystal clusters real quick. I'll be honest, they seem like a massive waste of time. They actually work differently than normal crystals. Instead of just running over the top of them, you actually have to click on them and wait a certain amount of time before you can collect them. Sometimes that's up to 5 minutes or more. They're also a lot more rare. You'll be fighting all the other players for very limited clusters. In order for the crystals to be activated, the landowner needs to fill them full of lindens. In my own personal experience, not a lot of sim owners are putting more lindens into these, so you'll see a lot of disabled clusters. This means you'll find yourself wasting time teleporting from sim to sim, only at best case scenario collecting normal crystals, worst case scenario winding up with nothing and wasting your time. The whole point of this video is to show you how to make as many lindens as you can as fast as you can. So we're just going to skip clusters altogether. The third thing we're going to cover is how to earn lindens via online surveys. Over the years, there's been a few websites that'll give you lindens for filling out surveys. I tried a few out, and by far the best is Entropia Partners. Start by clicking the link included in the description for this video, or typing www.entropiapartners.com into your browser of choice. Once the website's up, the first thing we need to do is look at the very far right column. You'll see a flashing button that says Register Now. Click it, then click to accept the terms of use. You'll need to select Linden dollars. This will reveal a link to the Entropia Partners HQ inside of Second Life. In order to register, you need to actually head to the in-world HQ and click on their kiosk. There's no way for a Second Life user to register with their email. Click the link, then find the Teleport Now link found here. Now come back inside of SL. This should have brought up the Place Profile window. Look for the Teleport button at the bottom and click it. Once you're at the sim, walk up to the kiosk. click it. A menu will appear in the upper right. Click the Go to Page button. This should bring up the website in your browser. There you go, now you're logged in. Just like Fish Hunt and Crystal Craze, we're going to ignore most of what's on the website. You'll notice 4 big buttons: Loot TV, Pixel Point, Music, and Dance. All of these have a terrible linden to time spent ratio. Watching the video channels are an excuse to make you watch ads every 5 minutes. The videos are out of date and abysmally boring. They really are just filler to space out the ads. It might seem like a good idea to dance while you're AFK, but alas, there's an AFK timeout built into their dance HUD. Instead, look at the column on the very left. You're going to want to click on CPA offers. Once again, there's a lot on this page that we're going to ignore. I'm not going to waste your time talking about each and every option. Many of these require you to download apps and reach certain goals inside of those apps. Others require you to scan in real life receipts. Some of the survey sites even hang on to your earned lindens for up to a month before you're able to cash them out. As I stated before, this video is all about getting you as many lindens as you can as fast as you can. We're going to find the button that says CPX Research and click on it. So here we are at the CPX research page. Let's talk about what you see here. Each one of these boxes represents a different survey. In the upper left of each box, you can see how many lindens the payout is. The lower bar, you can see how long the survey is estimated to take. Once you click on a survey, it's going to ask you some basic questions to get to know you. It's basically checking to see what kind of survey pool will be a good match for you. I suggest being as honest as possible. The system will check your answers against each other to make sure you're not just trying to get a bigger pool. Keep in mind, some surveys may ask some semi-personal questions. This is a great time to use that junk email address we made earlier. Never give any of these survey sites your real email address that you use every day. Also, never give out your real street address or PO box. CPX Research may shoot you a survey from one of their partners. Very rarely, one of the surveys will be a scam. I had one ask me to buy an item and rate it on their marketplace page. Do not get conned into doing anything where you spend real money. These scammers will not reimburse you and you'll be out the cash. Another thing to keep in mind is that each survey is looking for a particular demographic. The first ones you try to complete may tell you that you're not what they're looking for and will end early. I found that some gave me a consolation prize of either 1 or 2 lindens. The website will build a profile for you based on all the surveys you participate in. Eventually, you'll be given more and more that cater to your demographic. I stuck it out and eventually I was given some decent paying ones that wanted me to complete them. Tell me what your experience has been in the comment section below. I'm curious if you had a hard time finding good surveys or if it was actually pretty easy to find surveys that would let you complete them. When you feel you've earned enough, cashing out is fairly easy. As long as you've used CPX Research, you'll be able to cash out immediately. Go back to the main Entropia Partners webpage. Look at the column in the very right. You'll see a salmon-colored withdraw button. Click that and a window will pop up in the middle of the screen telling you how much you can withdraw. Apparently, if you post proof of receiving payment on their forums, they'll give you an additional percentage of lindens. I didn't bother with that, but you can follow the link there and find out how to do it. Hit the button on the bottom of this window. Now we'll swap back into SL. You should see a little notification in the upper right that you got paid. Now that we've gone through all that, let's talk about the pros and cons of each system. Let's start with Fish Hunt. When I did my tests, I earned 14.88 lindens in an hour of fishing at a 2-time spot. That's roughly 0.248 lindens per minute. Let's talk about the pros. Luckily, there's plenty of sims that support Fish Hunt. You'll have no problem ever finding a sim with an active buoy. The system is easy to use, and you don't have to compete with other players. As long as you put in the time, you'll get the lindens. It's also something easy to do when you're chatting with your friends or watching videos in another window. It also might be a good way to get out and see parts of the grid that you normally wouldn't come across. Let's talk about the cons. It does give a low linden per minute ratio. It could also get rather repetitive clicking on your fishing pole over and over again if you don't have some friends or something else to distract yourself with. Now let's talk a little bit about Crystal Craze. I did my tests in 2 environments. One was a high burst rate sim, and the other time was late at night at an empty sim. I was able to earn 16.75 lindens in an hour at a sim with a 15 burst rate. That boils down to 0.279 lindens per minute. At the empty sim, I collected for 30 minutes and got 11.59 lindens, basically 0.38 lindens per minute. Let's talk about the pros. It's a well thought out and up-to-date system. They put obvious effort into making their UI clean and simple to use. There does seem to be staff on hand at HQ that are more than happy to answer any questions you might have. It's also a great way, just like Fish Hunt, to get out and see some sims that you normally wouldn't. Also, there's a lot more action collecting crystals than fishing if you've got a low attention span. Let's talk about the cons. The biggest problem is that you will be competing with other crystal hunters. That means you won't always be getting optimal lindens per minute at any given time. At peak hours, it's almost impossible for crystal hunting to be worth it. Crystal clusters also seem to be a nearly unused feature of the system. Lastly, let's go over Entropia Partners. Whereas I didn't break down the exact lindens per minute, the surveys will state their time and payout right on them. Let's talk about the pros. You can fill out surveys from literally anywhere. You don't have to jump from sim to sim, and they're always available. There's no competition from other residents as well. If you're in a good survey pool, you'll exceed the lindens per minute you get from either fishing or crystal hunting. Let's talk about the cons. You do have to submit a lot of personal information. You also have to be super careful about the rare times it asks you to buy something or asks you too much personal information, like your actual real-life street address. You also might not always be the candidate they're looking for, so that might be some wasted time until you find the correct survey pools. Well, there you have it, folks. Having gone over the pros and cons to each method, let's talk about which is the top way to earn lindens overall. A lot of it just comes down to personal preference. For me personally, I found it was way more worth my time to do surveys. Once I gave the algorithm time to learn about me, it felt like I started to get more and more surveys that paid out. There's no competing with other players, and if you complete good surveys, you can make way more lindens per minute than fishing or anything else. But as I said before, it all boils down to personal preference and what you like best. If you found this video helpful at all, I really do honestly appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe, and stay tuned for even more helpful tutorials like this.